my epic mistake with darkened silver, a coin, a bowl, a method the entire internet swore was safe. I followed every step, checked every box, did everything right, and that's exactly where the mistake began. Because what came out of that bowl wasn't what went in. Something had changed, something underneath the surface that no one warned me about. And by the time I realized it, it was already too late. Welcome to Money Morphics, the place where we don't just look at the surface of things, we turn them over and examine what's underneath. Now, before we go any further, if you've been around long enough to know that the easy answer is rarely the right one, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. Think of it like adjusting your reading glasses. Before a very important document lands on your desk, you'll want to be ready for everything that comes next. And one more thing, drop a comment below. Tell us what city, what country, what corner of this world you're watching from today, because this story travels far, and so does its warning. Now, let's begin. There is a moment that almost every person in business has experienced at least once in their life. It is that specific moment when a problem appears, and almost immediately, a solution appears right beside it. Clean, simple, effortless. And that is precisely where the danger begins. It started with a coin. Not just any coin, a silver coin that had gone dark, deep, smoky, almost black across its surface, the kind of darkness that creeps in slowly over time, quietly, without permission. And when he finally held it up to the light and saw just how far the darkness had spread, he did what most people do. He went looking for an easy answer. The internet, as it always does, delivered one almost instantly. Line a bowl with aluminum foil, sprinkle baking soda, pour in boiling water, and watch the tarnish simply disappear. No scrubbing, no rubbing, no risk. Just science doing the work while he stood back and watched. The message was clear, and it was seductive. You do not even have to touch the surface, you just have to trust the process. And he trusted it. This is not a story about one man and one coin. This is a story that plays out every single day inside boardrooms, startup offices, and investment meetings around the world. Because the psychology behind what he did is the same psychology that drives some of the most costly business decisions ever made. When something of value begins to darken, when a product loses its shine, when a company's reputation starts to tarnish, when profits begin to drop, and the surface of a once brilliant venture starts looking dull and miserable. The instinct is always the same. Find the fastest fix. Find the method that requires the least contact, the least disruption, the least effort. Find the solution that sounds like it carries no risk at all. And the business world is full of these solutions. Restructuring plans that promise transformation without sacrifice. Marketing campaigns that promise visibility without real change. Financial instruments that promise returns without exposure. They all carry the same basic message that the aluminum foil method carried. No scrubbing, no rubbing, no risk. But here is what experienced people understand, and what younger, more impatient minds often discover only after the damage is done. Looks clean and is safe are never the same sentence. He stood in front of his setup with a checklist mentality that felt organized and prepared. Glass bowl, check. Aluminum foil, check. Baking soda, check. Spoon, check. Everything was in order. Everything was accounted for. The process was ready. The method was sound. He had seen others do this. He had read about it. He had watched videos confirming it worked. And then he looked down at his lineup and realized something was missing. The coin itself. He had spent so much time preparing the process that he had nearly forgotten the subject of the process entirely. And while that moment carried a brief comedic quality, its deeper meaning was anything but funny. Because this is what preparation without clarity looks like in the real world. People build entire systems around a problem. Design beautiful strategies, assemble all the right tools, and then operate as though the most important variable in the equation is irrelevant. The coin always matters more than the recipe. The product always matters more than the marketing strategy. The team always matters more than the organizational chart. The customer always matters more than the sales script. The asset always matters more than the method used to protect it. This is the first lesson that his story puts on display, quietly, before the real mistake even begins. Because what happened next was not the result of carelessness. It was not the result of ignorance. He was not an uninformed person operating blindly in unfamiliar territory. He was experienced. He was prepared. He followed the steps correctly, and that is exactly what makes what happened next so important for every business mind watching this story unfold. The setup was complete. The coin was in the bowl. The process had begun, and something was already going wrong. The experiment begins. Confidence before clarity. Confidence is a strange thing. In the right amount, it moves mountains. It launches companies. It turns empty warehouses into empires and blank pages into billion-dollar ideas. But in the wrong amount, at the wrong moment, confidence does something far more dangerous. It silences the questions that should have been asked. He was confident when he set up the bowl. He was confident when he lined it carefully with aluminum foil. He was confident when he measured the baking soda and waited for the water to reach its boiling point. Every movement was deliberate. Every step felt justified. And that feeling of justification, that quiet internal voice saying, "I know what I am doing," is one of the most expensive feelings a person can carry into a high-stakes situation. Because confidence without clarity is not preparation. It is assumption wearing a very convincing disguise. Now, consider what was actually happening in that room. A person with genuine experience, real knowledge, observable skill, was about to apply a method to something irreplaceable. And the entire foundation of that decision rested not on deep personal testing, but on borrowed certainty. He had seen it work for others. He had read the confirmations. He had watched the results appear clean and convincing on a screen. But a screen is not a laboratory, and someone else's coin is never your coin. This is the part of the story that the business community needs to sit with for a moment, because borrowed certainty is one of the most common fuels behind catastrophic decisions in the commercial world. An entrepreneur watches a competitor launch a product successfully and assumes the same launch strategy will produce the same result for their own product. An investor sees a particular asset class perform brilliantly in someone else's portfolio and assumes identical performance is simply waiting for them to arrive. A company observes another organization restructure successfully and copies the blueprint without ever questioning whether their own internal conditions are even remotely similar. They line their bowl with foil, they sprinkle their baking soda, they pour their boiling water, and they wait for results that were never actually guaranteed. What makes the stage of his experiment so analytically important is not the action itself, it is the absence of doubt during the action. There was no pause, no moment of reconsideration, no quiet internal question asking, "Wait, is this coin different from the coins I have seen this work on before?" The checklist had been completed, the ingredients were present, the method was initiated, and in his mind, the outcome was already decided before the process had even begun. This is what psychologists call outcome bias, operating in reverse. Instead of judging a past decision by its result, he was judging a future result by a past decision. Because the method had worked before, it would work again. Because the recipe was correct, the outcome would be correct. Because the process felt right, the product would emerge right. But silver does not care about your confidence, and markets do not care about your recipe. Every asset, every coin, every company, every investment carries its own specific history, its own unique composition, its own invisible variables that no checklist can fully capture. The coin sitting in that bowl had its own story. Its darkness had developed under its own specific conditions. The tarnish on its surface was not generic, it was particular. And a method designed for general problems applied to a particular problem is not a solution. It is a gamble dressed in the language of science. He watched the reaction begin. The water moved. The foil shifted slightly. There was visible activity happening at the surface of the coin, and for a brief moment, it looked exactly like it was supposed to look. It looked like progress. It looked like the tarnish was responding. It looked like the method was working precisely as advertised. And that moment, that brief window where everything appears to be going correctly, is the most dangerous moment of all. Because in business, and in silver, the most costly damage rarely announces itself loudly. It happens quietly, underneath the surface, while everything above it still looks clean. When science meets reality, the misconception, exposed, there's a particular silence that follows a mistake. Not the loud, dramatic silence of an explosion or a crash, not the kind that makes everyone in the room turn their heads simultaneously. It is quieter than that, more subtle. It is the silence of a person staring at something, processing what they are seeing, and slowly, reluctantly, beginning to understand that what they expected to happen and what actually happened are two entirely different things. He experienced that silence, and what he saw in that bowl changed everything. The coin emerged from the process looking different. That much was true. The darkness had shifted. The surface had responded to the chemical reaction in visible, measurable ways. But different is not always better, and responding is not always recovering. Because what the aluminum foil and baking soda method had done to that coin was not what the internet had promised. It had not simply lifted the tarnish cleanly away like a curtain being pulled back to reveal something pristine underneath. It had done something far more complicated and far more permanent. To understand what happened inside that bowl, it is necessary to understand what silver tarnish actually is at its most fundamental level. Tarnish on silver is not dirt. It is not dust. It is not a foreign substance that simply lands on the surface and waits to be removed. Tarnish is a chemical transformation. It is the silver itself, reacting with sulfur compounds in the surrounding environment, and converting its outermost layer into silver sulfide. The darkness is not sitting on top of the coin. The darkness is the coin, or rather, it is what the coin has become on its surface through a natural and irreversible chemical process. And this distinction, this precise, technical, critically important distinction, is what the viral internet method completely failed to communicate to the millions of people who watched it and felt reassured. Because the aluminum foil reaction does not remove silver sulfide, it reverses it. Through an electrochemical process, the aluminum pulls the sulfur away from the silver sulfide and bonds with it instead, theoretically returning the silver surface to its original metallic state. And in controlled conditions, with the right type of tarnish, on the right type of coin, this process can work with reasonable effectiveness. But here is what the videos never show. Here is what the comment sections never mention. Here is what the confident voices explaining the method always quietly omit. The reaction is not selective. It does not distinguish between harmful tarnish and protective patina. It does not recognize the difference between surface darkness that is damaging a coin and surface darkness that has, over decades, become part of the coin's identity, its history, its value. The electrochemical process simply acts, broadly, indiscriminately, on everything the solution can reach. And on an older coin, a collectible coin, a coin whose value is inseparable from its originality and its natural surface development, that indiscriminate action is not cleaning, it is erasure. Now translate this moment into the language of business, because this is where his story stops being about metallurgy and starts being about something that every entrepreneur, every investor, every executive in a position of real responsibility needs to hear clearly and remember permanently. There are interventions in business that look like solutions on the surface, that are scientifically logical in their structure, that follow a process which has genuinely worked in other contexts, and yet cause irreversible damage to the specific asset they were applied to. Aggressive cost-cutting strategies that strip away not just inefficiency, but the human infrastructure that made the company function. Rebranding campaigns that remove not just outdated imagery, but the authentic identity that loyal customers trusted for years. Rapid scaling decisions that eliminate not just slowness, but the careful quality control that separated the product from its competitors. The tarnish is removed, but so is something that cannot be replaced. He stood there looking at that coin and understood something that no checklist had prepared him for. The method had worked exactly as described. The chemistry had functioned precisely as explained. Every step had been followed correctly, and the coin would never fully be what it was again. Because in both silver and in business, the surface is never just the surface. Underneath it lives the real value. Underneath it lives the real story. And once that is disturbed, the damage does not ask permission to stay. The regret calculation. What I would do differently. Regret is one of the most misunderstood forces in human decision-making. Most people treat it as an emotion, a feeling to be processed, managed, and eventually moved past. Something that belongs in a personal journal or a late-night conversation, not in a boardroom or a business strategy session. But the most sophisticated minds in economics, investment, and enterprise understand something fundamentally different about regret. They understand that regret is data. And data, when analyzed correctly, is the most valuable asset a decision maker can possess. He stood there looking at that coin for a long time, not with the frantic energy of someone trying to reverse what had happened, not with the defensive posture of someone constructing excuses. He stood there with something far more productive than either of those responses. He stood there with stillness. And in that stillness, he began to calculate. Not emotionally, not reactively, but analytically. Because the question he was asking himself in that moment was not the question most people ask after a mistake. Most people ask, why did this happen to me? Or worse, who told me this would work? Both questions are understandable. Both questions are entirely human. And both questions are completely useless as instruments of forward progress. The question he was asking was different. He was asking, at exactly which point did the available information stop matching the decision being made? This is what separates a regret calculation from simple regret. It is a forensic examination of the decision architecture. It is going back through every step, every assumption, every moment of confidence, and identifying with precise clarity the exact location where the thinking broke down, not to assign blame, not to punish the past, but to build something extraordinarily useful for the future. A personal risk assessment protocol. And what his calculation revealed was not one mistake. It was a sequence of 3 compounding errors that individually appeared harmless, but together created the conditions for irreversible damage. The first error was mistaking familiarity for expertise. He had seen the method work. He had read about it extensively. He had watched others apply it successfully. And somewhere in that accumulation of secondhand experience, familiarity quietly disguised itself as personal mastery. He knew about the process, But knowing about something and being genuinely equipped to apply it to a specific, irreplaceable asset are separated by a distance that confidence alone cannot bridge. In business, this error appears constantly. A founder reads extensively about a market before entering it and confuses research fluency with operational readiness. An executive studies successful turnaround cases in detail and assumes that understanding the narrative means understanding the mechanics. Familiarity feels like preparation, but in high-stakes situations involving irreplaceable assets, familiarity is not enough. It never was. The second error was removing the most important variable from the risk equation. He had assessed the method. He had not assessed the coin, not deeply, not with the level of scrutiny that a genuinely irreplaceable object demands before any intervention is applied to it. He knew the coin was silver. He knew it was darkened. But he did not know its specific history, its exact composition, the particular nature of its tarnish, or the precise stage of its surface development. And he applied a broad solution to an unknown specific. In business, this is the equivalent of implementing a company-wide strategy based on general industry data, without conducting specific internal diagnostics first. The strategy may be perfectly valid in general terms, but general validity applied to a specific unknown is not strategy. It is probability management dressed as decision-making. The third error, and perhaps the most instructive of all, was misreading visible activity as confirmed progress. When the reaction began in that bowl, when the surface of the coin visibly responded, that activity felt like confirmation. It felt like evidence that the method was working correctly. And that feeling of visible progress, that reassuring sight of something happening, silenced the final opportunity for reconsideration before the damage became permanent. This third error is the most dangerous in business because it exploits one of the deepest human cognitive tendencies. We are wired to interpret visible movement as positive momentum. A busy team feels like a productive team. A growing user base feels like a sustainable business. A rising stock price feels like a fundamentally strong company. Activity, visible, measurable, observable activity, feels like proof. But activity is never proof. Activity is simply activity. So what would he do differently? If he found himself standing in front of a darkened coin again, with the same method available, the same internet consensus confirming its safety, the same checklist complete and ready, he would do something that requires more discipline than any chemical process ever could. He would do nothing. Not permanently, not out of fear, but strategically. He would pause long enough to ask 3 questions that his confidence had previously made him feel were unnecessary. First, is this asset truly understood at the level its irreplaceability demands? Second, is this method genuinely matched to this specific situation, or simply to situations that appeared similar? Third, if this intervention causes damage that cannot be undone, what is the actual cost of that outcome compared to the cost of waiting? Because in both silver and in business, the most expensive mistakes are rarely made by careless people. They are made by prepared, informed, experienced people who stopped asking questions, exactly one question too early. The coin was changed. That fact could not be reversed, but the understanding that emerged from that change, the precise, forensic, permanently useful understanding of where confidence had outpaced clarity, that was worth more than the coin ever was. And that is the real asset his mistake produced. Not a cleaned coin, not a perfect result, but a decision-making framework built from the only material that never loses its value: experience, paid for at full price.